Welcome to today's episode of Decoupled with Cheryl, and we're starting from the very beginning. If only you can imagine where that beginning is. I'm guessing for a lot of us who ended up in this whole single parent situation, the beginning of this for us was rock bottom. Of course, nobody goes from being in a relationship or having a spouse or having a partner and, just having that hopeful, happy life and going from that to being all by yourself with your child to take care of, and they're all happy and chirpy and all that. I doubt that that's the way it is for most of us. It's more like a wake-up call. So yes, we start at rock bottom. That's the beginning for most of us. And rock bottom is not a very good place to be. Okay, so in my experience, rock bottom was a very confusing place. I literally could not fathom that I would be in that situation. You go from having hopes and dreams, as rocky as those hopes and dreams could be, sometimes terrifying, I would not even lie, and you go from that to a place of utter and complete confusion. And then you're finding that it's not just you in that situation, but it's you and your child. I have a boy, I have a son. Oh my God, he's the light of my life and my world. He's 11 years old now. So we had been together, in this whole situation. I split from my ex about 7 years ago, and at the time he was just 4 years old. So it's been a roller coaster for myself and the young un, I can tell you that. So yes, initially I was all confused and all that, but then I figured, oh well, worst case scenario, no matter what happens, you have to make this work. Now, the worst part about rock bottom is knowing that you are in it all by yourself. So when I say all by yourself, let's come down to what's happening to us here, especially in these parts of the world, in Nigeria. First off, everybody's putting the blame on you because you're a woman. You're supposed to nurture your home. You're supposed to keep your home. No matter what the guy does, no matter what the man does, you should sit there, suck it in, and just live with it, and that's fine to an extent. No matter what happens, you find that you have to take ownership for the fact that you are not in that relationship anymore, you're not in that marriage anymore. You have to own up to that and say, yes, I was responsible for a couple of things, even though, to be honest, I will not lie, I struggled with just trying to figure out what those things that I was responsible for are. Yes, people would laugh and say you definitely did something. I mean, I had my friends telling, "Boy, you are stubborn. You must have done something." I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you wake up to the realization that no matter what happened, no matter who was at fault, this is you in this situation, and it's just you, and it's this kid that you're with. So my son is 11 now, and for the past 7 years since the separation, it's not been easy, because at first you have to play the good parent. You're trying not to be petty and a backstabbing, I don't know, ex-spouse. So you're covering up for yourself, your misgivings, and you're covering up for the misgivings of your ex as well. At least that's what happened in my case. I don't like to use the word deadbeat, but yeah, that's what you have. So I have to pull the weight, or I had to pull the weight for us both. So yes, rock bottom. My rock bottom was very, very, very rough. And then coming out of that rock bottom place was also not easy. But here's my takeaway from that. I start with rock bottom because it's different for a lot of people, but most of us find ourselves in this situation where we're just completely at a loss. God help you if you have a fantastic support system where they take you in, they take the kid in, and they're doing what they can, as best as they can, of which of course they're not overly obligated to do. So whatever help you get, you take it, and then you know that the rest is up to you, and you have to put in the work, and you have to sit your ass down in that situation and get things done. So coming out of rock bottom It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. But my takeaway from that whole situation was, man, no matter what happens in this life, you're responsible for yourself. You are absolutely responsible for yourself. I'm really grateful to my family and my support system for seeing me through those days. But it gets to a point where you just know that you have to get a move on. You have to move on, not just emotionally from the hurt and from the betrayal and from the fact that dude is not pulling his weight even after all this time. Forget about me, don't do anything for me, but we're supposed to be raising a kid together. So yeah, it's a huge deal for each person, no matter how wronged you feel you were, to be able to pull the weight. And that's one thing that we don't see anymore these days. So yes, I had to start from rock bottom, because it's in that place that you then find that you have to become more financially intelligent. You have to become more business savvy. You have to look for multiple streams of income. You have to find a way to make sure that your emotional space is sane at all times, even though the ex is coming and trying to cause trouble and trying to start something, trying to light fires here and there. You have to stay sane. Your emotional intelligence has to be top notch, because you're not just in it for yourself, but you're in it for your kid. Now here's the tricky part about that emotional intelligence bit, is just knowing that if you're not fine, your kid will not be fine. Like I say this coming from my experience with my son, D, as most of my friends and my family know him as. D. He's such a sweetheart, and as much as I try not to make his dad look bad on any count, dude tends to get to me, especially when he's not living up to his responsibilities. And whenever I get that way, my son would literally just look at me and know that mommy wasn't fine. He would know that mommy wasn't okay. And in early stages, here's the interesting bit. Early stages, we would pray every morning, and he would keep saying, okay, God, whatever happens, please bring my mom and my dad back together. But then when we started to unravel, and when things started to get really, 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 really obvious, he asked me a couple of questions, and I had to come clean. And yes, I would say this in all honesty, it was difficult to come and have a conversation with your kid. I mean, these kids are growing so fast these days. It's difficult to have a conversation with your kid when you're mad at your ex, and you're trying to present what happened between you and your ex in such a way that he doesn't then take sides. I believe I tried. I believe I did my best possible to ensure that I didn't paint myself as like a Holy Mary and all that. But then eventually the things that, were the most obvious were the things that I picked up on. Okay, so what's happening with school fees? Okay, I don't see him often, or when can I go see him, and all of that. And then you then realize that you have to cover up, you have to be nice. So yes, my son found out. He sort of stumbled upon information that he and his dad and I were never getting back together. Yeah, he kind of stumbled upon that information, and when he did, it took a lot of maturity to open up and say, okay, this is what happened between your dad and I. But then again, I say all of that to stress how important it is to maintain that sanity, to maintain that emotional intelligence, because your kids are picking up on every single thing. So whatever happened between yourself and your ex, to get you guys to split, you took yourself out of that environment, or somehow found yourself outside of that environment, because it wasn't good for your sanity and for your peace of mind. But then we find out that as single parents, our exes have a way of still influencing, maybe as much as you allow them, the way you think, the way you handle things, not just concerning your kid, but concerning yourself, concerning your relationship and your finances and all of that. So it's so important that when you're at rock bottom, you don't remain at rock bottom. You start to pick up on all of those things that will get you out of that situation. Now, I wouldn't lie, that's a journey in itself. I mean, it's been 7 years since I split, and yeah, it's officially over. Forget the fact that I'm calling it a separation. It's so done. It couldn't be any more done. In fact, my ex is remarried. Yes, a little bit of background info there. So yeah, he's remarried and he's moved on. But you just find that you have to constantly keep working on yourself and ensuring that they don't get to influence you in ways that you would not like to be as a person. You want to be able to come out of rock bottom and take the situation into perspective and say, yes, as much as I'm a single parent, I can handle this. I can handle whatever situation that my ex somehow subtly or indirectly throws at me, and I can make sure that I take it and I make the most of it. Now, I would say, let me just throw a little light on the term single parent, because there's a bit of a confusion, and in our next episode we're going to be delving more deeply into that. So for single parents, you are solely, if not at least 80 to 90, you're completely responsible for the care of your child. So your child has a father or your child has a mother, but you find that basically everything that has to do with raising that child is on you. So you can imagine the pressure that comes with that. Now, there are different situations that lead into that, and like I said, we'll get into all of that in our second episode when we're talking about single parenting versus co-parenting, what the differences are. But for the purpose of this episode, you're a single parent and you've come out of that relationship at rock bottom. You need to know that rock bottom, you take that rock let me wax philosophical here. You take that rock and you make it your stepping stone. That's a very important part. Take that rock and let it propel you. Kind of step on it and get your bounce on, and get out of that rock and let it propel you into the first couple of things that you need to know about raising your kid and thriving at the single parenting business. Okay, so yes, rock bottom for a lot of us needs to go from rock, and you're sunk at the bottom of the ocean and you're sitting on that rock, and needs to go from you taking that rock and using it to propel yourself out of that water, if that makes any sense. Propel yourself out of that water and get your life on, get your groove on. If not for you, simply because of the fact that you have kids who are looking up to you, they're looking at you, and these kids can read you. I'm telling you, it's eerie how they do it. But my son, he can read me like a book, and I'm talking not some boring book, but my face has like illustrations and shit. So he literally can look at me and tell what's going on. And as long as you're not happy, your kids will be happy. It wouldn't make a difference if you left your marriage or whatever relationship you were in because you wanted to be happy. As long as you don't get yourself out of that funk, your kids will see it. They won't be happy, you won't be happy, and everything just moves at a snail slow pace. Okay, so yes, stick with me. This is a journey. I had to start by telling you my story, and I didn't delve into it a lot, but we will get to know more of me and about me as the episodes progress. But the takeaway from this particular episode is never to remain at rock bottom. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to get mad. It's okay to rail and vent and rant and all of that. But find yourself a system that will help you to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. And with this, we're going to end our very first episode of Decoupled with Cheryl. I will see you guys next week. Ta-da! Thank you so much for listening to our episode of Decoupled with Cheryl. For this particular episode where we talked about rock bottom, we would like to know, for any single parents who are listening, what was your experience coming from your relationship and going to that point where you had to start out as a single parent please do send us your feedback or your stories you would like to share and get some takeaway points as well. Send us an email at sharecast@gmail.com. So that's CHERCASTS one word @gmail.com. You can also follow us on our social media handles. On all platforms, we are Decoupled with Cheryl. Till we see you at the next episode. Bye-bye.